China stunned the world by revealing modern superweapons previously only rumored. Analysts suspected, vague reports leaked, but no one had seen them. Until now, when they were finally displayed in full at the Beijing parade, and among them was something that looked more like a scene from a sci-fi movie. Four-legged robots, metal wolves armed on their backs, march across Tiananmen Square. Some of these innovations are so advanced that, in certain areas, they've even surpassed the United States. And now get ready, because one of them is a real nightmare for American aircraft carriers. Its unveiling must have caused an alarm in Washington, but we'll get to that in a moment. So you'd better sit down, because what you're about to see might surprise you. Welcome to Beyond Borders, where we reveal hidden connections, power plays, and conflicts shaping our world. Today we'll examine what China has revealed, from the nuclear triad, standing together for the first time, to hypersonic missiles that can penetrate American defenses, all the way to combat lasers and the drones of the future, including robotic wolves. And for each weapon, we'll compare how America measures up. DF-5C Global Reach. And now comes the weapon that has attracted the most attention of all. China debuted the modernized DF-5C, an intercontinental ballistic missile, at the parade. A missile that can travel between continents and carry nuclear warheads for thousands of kilometers. Chinese sources say the DF-5C's range is up to 20,000 kilometers. That figure exceeds typical Russian and American missile parameters. In practice, this means that this missile would be capable of striking any place on Earth. From Washington to London to Sydney, everything is within reach. And now get ready. It's not just about range. The DF-5C is equipped with a multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle system. Multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle. The missile warhead divides into several independently guided nuclear warheads upon reaching its target. Experts say a single missile can carry up to 10 warheads. A single launch can strike 10 targets at once, but there's an even more surprising part. Analysts claim that the DF-5C could use the so-called fractional orbital bombardment system. Fractional orbital bombardment system. It's a unique method where the missile doesn't follow a standard ballistic path, but instead carries the warhead into Earth's orbit. It can then approach the target from an unexpected direction. Imagine that American air defense expects an attack from the north, but the warhead suddenly comes from the south, where there is no complete radar shield. For the Pentagon, this is a nightmare. Now, a comparison. The United States currently has the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile in active service, which was developed back in the 1970s. It's reliable and tested, but outdated since the 1970s. It ranges about 13,000 kilometers and carries one nuclear warhead. The Americans are preparing a new generation missile called Sentinel, which is expected to enter service around 2030. It will eventually carry multiple warheads, but it's still in development. So, on paper, the DF seems better. 5C as China's secret weapon. 10 targets, global reach, even orbital paths. But remember, numbers and parades alone don't make a weapon effective in combat. China has never used these systems in a real conflict. On the other hand, the United States has hundreds of launch silos, decades of experience from continuous combat patrols, and proven reliability of its missiles. That's why it stands. China has displayed strength as a deterrent and to enhance its image. Americans, on the other hand, rely on a huge amount of experience and global infrastructure. But one thing is certain. Just the display of the DF-5C alone must have sparked serious discussions in Washington. And if you think this was scary, get ready. Because the next chapter will introduce you to the terror of the American Navy. It's about weapons designed solely to destroy American aircraft carriers, the Navy's pride. And those are the ones that can change the balance of power on the oceans. Hypersonic aircraft carrier killers. If 5C's global reach surprise you, get ready. The next weapon is a nightmare for the United States Navy. It's built to destroy Nimitz and Gerald R. Ford class aircraft carriers. A new version of the DF missile appeared at the parade. 26D. It's a medium-range ballistic missile with a range of about 5,000 kilometers. The Chinese nicknamed it the Guam Killer, because that's exactly the distance from which it can strike the American base on the island of Guam. But now it goes even further, DF version. The 26D is specially modified to destroy moving sea targets like aircraft carriers. And here's the shock. A missile that flies at several times the speed of sound is guided so that it can hit a huge ship even while it's moving. In combination with satellites and unmanned aircraft for guidance, the DF becomes. The 26D becomes a weapon that challenges the American Navy's previous dominance in the Pacific. However, China didn't stop at one weapon and also displayed hypersonic DF missiles. And that is 21, which are capable of maneuvering in the atmosphere at speeds exceeding 5 times the speed of sound. That's the point where current air defense systems are nearly powerless. And that means that entire United States aircraft carrier strike groups could find themselves in mortal danger. Now let's compare that with America. The United States has invested billions in the development of hypersonic weapons, but their Air-Launched Rapid Response Weapon program, Air-Launched Rapid Response Weapon, was recently canceled. Currently, the Americans have 2 projects in development. Long-Range Hypersonic Weapon. Long-Range Hypersonic Weapon for the Army, and Intermediate Range Conventional Prompt Strike. Intermediate Range Conventional Prompt Strike for the Navy. Both are being tested, but they will only enter real service in the coming years. So, while the United States is still testing, China is showing off operational hypersonic missiles ready for combat at their parade. And that's a point that must have raised concerns in Washington. But let's not forget one important thing. Showing a weapon at a parade and using it effectively in a real conflict are 2 different things. Americans have decades of combat experience, coordinated naval and air forces, and a wide network of allies. China doesn't have this experience yet. Nevertheless, the very existence of hypersonic aircraft carrier killers dramatically changes the calculations in the Pacific. American aircraft carriers are no longer untouchable. And that may be the biggest strategic shift that China has demonstrated. And now you're thinking, if they can threaten aircraft carriers, what else are they hiding? The answer is even more interesting. China has also unveiled combat lasers and stealth drones that will shape future warfare. We're not done yet. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You'll help it reach more people. If you'd like to support my work, a small contribution is appreciated. Thank you. Let's keep going. China has introduced the Mobile Laser System LI, one which initially appears to be science fiction. Military lasers remain a major challenge. To burn or destroy a target, a weapon must generate immense power, keep a stable beam, and handle disruptive factors: dust, rain, fog, the atmosphere. For years, it seemed like an unattainable technology. And now imagine that China unveils a functional system mounted on a mobile platform. It claims it can shoot down both drones and missiles. If that were true, it would mean a cheap and reusable way to eliminate waves of enemy drones or incoming missiles. While missile defense costs millions per shot, a laser only costs electricity. That's exactly the point where the future of warfare could change dramatically. Of course, we need to stay grounded. There is no independent proof that Chinese lasers can target anything beyond short-range, slow-moving objects like small drones. China's demonstration sends a message. We are at the technological forefront and know where warfare is going. How are the United States doing? The Americans have several laser programs. For example, the Helios high-energy laser with the integrated optical dazzler is being installed on Arleigh Burke-class destroyers. This system can destroy drones and dazzle enemy optics. Another one is Dazzler, directed energy maneuver, short range. Air defense, directed energy maneuver, short range air defense, is mounted on Stryker vehicles to shield ground troops from drones and missiles. The United States of America is investing hundreds of millions of dollars, but most of the systems are still in the testing or experimental phase. So while the United States of America is testing and deploying prototypes in small numbers, China is claiming at a grand parade that it already has a functional mobile laser. Whether it's reality or just clever propaganda, time will tell. But one thing is certain, The image of a Chinese laser capable of eliminating aerial threats was meant to send a clear message to Washington and Tokyo. The future of aerial combat won't be just about missiles, and this brings us to the next step. Because along with the laser, China also showcased weapons that are expected to dominate the skies and seas of the future. We're talking about stealth drones and underwater robotic machines that are changing the idea of what the next war will look like. Drones and robotic wolves. After missiles and lasers, China has revealed another chapter in the war of the future, not just any kind of drones. At the parade, the GE-11 drone appeared publicly for the first time. It features stealth technology. Its shape and surface absorb radar waves, making it nearly invisible to enemy defenses. Chinese commentators call it loyal partner. Its role is clear: to fly alongside fighter jets and attack in places where it would be too risky for manned aircraft. That's not all. China also unveiled the AJX-002, an underwater drone for deep-sea operations. This machine can be used for reconnaissance, laying mines, and direct attacks on ships or submarines. At a time when drones have fundamentally changed the war in Ukraine, the idea of autonomous underwater machines seems even more frightening. And then came the demonstration that caused the biggest stir on social media: four-legged robots, so-called wolves. Chinese media say their role is to scout, deliver supplies, and provide direct fire support. This time they were loaded onto military trucks instead of walking across the square. But just the sight of dozens of armed robots lined up as a unit looked as if the war of the future had arrived. How is America doing here? The United States of America has worked on the Loyal Wingman program for years. Unmanned machines are being developed to fly with F-35 and F-22 fighters, or B-21 bombers. Known as Skyborg or Collaborative Combat Aircraft, these tests aim to transform the United States Air Force into a blend of manned and autonomous systems in the coming years. In the field of underwater drones, Americans have the ORCA Extra Large Unmanned Undersea Vehicle, Extra Large Unmanned Undersea Vehicle project, which should be capable of autonomous missions in the oceans. And in the field of robotics, the world knows, especially Boston Dynamics with their Spot Dogs, which have already been tested by the military, but so far mainly on an experimental basis. So where is the difference? China showed its drones and robots right away on the red carpet of a military parade, as if they were already ready for real deployment. The United States of America develops its projects more behind closed doors and deploys them only gradually. Who is further ahead will only become clear in practice. But one thing is certain: the image of marching robotic wolves was a symbol for viewers around the world that the war of the future will have a completely different face. And that's still not all. Along with missiles, lasers, and robots, China revealed its top weapon, a full nuclear triad. This shows how hard it's trying to catch up to the superpowers. But how does it compare to America? We'll talk about that right now. China's nuclear triad shows its complete arsenal. One of the biggest moments of the entire parade was that China publicly showed all three pillars of its nuclear triad for the first time. This is a term used only by the largest nuclear powers, the United States and Russia, and it means the ability to launch nuclear weapons from land, sea, and air. Let's begin on land. China unveiled the DF-61, its latest intercontinental ballistic missile. It has a 12,000-kilometer range and features a multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle system. A single missile can carry multiple warheads, each able to hit different targets independently. The second pillar is submarines. China has unveiled the JL-3 missile, a modern submarine-launched ballistic missile, submarine-launched ballistic missile. Its main advantage is that it can be launched from the depths of the ocean, where the submarine is not easy to detect. For the United States and its allies, this means that Chinese nuclear weapons don't have to be limited to land-based silos, but can come from an unexpected location in the Pacific. And finally, the third pillar, the air component. China has introduced a new air-launched nuclear missile designated as JL-1 air-launched. That's a weapon it has lacked until now. It can be carried by a strategic bomber and launched from a great distance from the target. This made the Chinese triad complete. And now let's take a look at a comparison. The United States has had a Triad for decades. On land, they use older Minuteman III missiles, which they constantly upgrade. At sea, they use the Trident II D5, one of the world's most reliable and accurate missiles. And in the air, they have an arsenal of B-52B2 and soon B-21 Rider bombers, which carry nuclear bombs as well as long-range missiles. Americans are developing a new generation of weapons on the Sentinel missiles and on the long-range standoff weapon, long-range standoff weapon. What does the Chinese presentation mean? Simply this. Beijing has shown the world it's part of the elite group of great powers with a complete nuclear triad, and that from now on every planner in the Pentagon has to take into account that China can respond from any domain, from land, sea, and air. Now we reach the main question. Displaying weapons at a parade is one thing, but can they be as effective in real conflict as in a choreographed square display? Conclusion. What did the world see at Beijing's parade? Above all, a major leap forward. China demonstrated that it is no longer just playing in the regional league, but wants to stand side by side with the United States and Russia. It displayed global missiles, hypersonic weapons, carriers, lasers, drones, and robotic wolves. It was a show meant to send a clear message. We are ready, and we have the weapons of the future. But, and this is crucial, a military parade is not a battlefield. Not a single one of these weapons has been used in a real conflict. And although China demonstrated tremendous technological progress, it lacks what the United States has. Decades of combat experience, a vast ally network, proven logistics, and an army seasoned by dozens of real-world operations. China has made major advances, compelling the world to take its military seriously. But whether these superweapons actually work as they are presented will only be shown by reality, and that's the biggest unknown. Whether they'll just be for show in parades or eventually change history. If you like the video, I'd appreciate a like, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next ones I'm working on. You can support my work by showing gratitude. To help the video reach more people, click praise. Thank you.